Mr. Speaker, don't the British people deserve a Prime Minister they can trust and a government that isn't mired in sleaze, cronyism and scandal?
Mr. Speaker, last week he came to this chamber and he attacked me for talking to James Dyson about ventilators, where we're now sending ventilators to help the people of India. And the following day, Mr. Speaker, the Labour front bench said that any Prime Minister in my position would have done exactly the same thing. It wasn't only a few months ago that they were actually attacking Kate Bingham, saying she was a crony when she helped to set up the vaccine task force that delivered millions of vaccines for the people of this country, Mr. Speaker, and helping us to get out of the pandemic. This is a government that is getting on with delivering on the people's priorities. We're rolling out many more nurses, 10,000 more nurses in the NHS now than there were this time last year, 8,771 more police officers on our streets now than there were when I was elected, including tougher sentences, Mr. Speaker, for serious sexual and violent criminals, which he opposed, Mr. Speaker. We're getting on. And by the way, I forgot to mention it. Last night, our friends in the European Union voted to approve our Brexit deal, which he opposed, which enables us not just to take back control of our borders, Mr. Speaker, but to deliver free, which it does, which he fervently opposed, enabling us, amongst other things, to deal with such threats as the European Super League, Mr. Speaker, but it enables us to deliver free ports in places like Teesside, and above all, taking back control of our country has allowed us to deliver the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe, as he well knows, Mr. Speaker, which would not have been possible if we'd stayed in the European Medicines Agency, which he voted for. Mr. Speaker, week after week, the people of this country can see the difference between a Labour Party that twists and turns with the wind, that thinks of nothing except playing political games, whereas this party gets on with delivering on the people's priorities, and I hope that people will vote Conservative on May the 6th.
Let's see if we can calm it down a little.
As Mr. Speaker, this is the last Prime Minister's questions this Parliament. It is the last chance for this Prime Minister to show that he is accountable for the decisions he has made. Will he start by admitting that when British forces were sent into Helmand, they did not have sufficient helicopters to protect themselves and get the job done?
Mr. Speaker, I do not accept that in any operation to which we sent our troops, that our commanding officers gave wrong advice and told us that we shouldn't, told us they were properly equipped. At every time, in every operation, we ask our commanding officers, are we able to do this operation? And our commanding officers have said, yes, they can. So I have to say to him that we have done our best to equip our troops, and we will continue to do so. It is right that I take full responsibility, but I take the advice of our commanding officers, and advice of our commanding officers is very clear.
David Cameron. Say that answer sums up this premiership. Takes no responsibility and always blames somebody else. Why can't he just admit something that everybody knows to be true? There weren't enough helicopters. Let's listen to Colonel Stuart Tootle, former commander of 3 Para. He said this: repeated demands for more helicopters fell on deaf ears. It increased risks for my paratroopers. But as he put it, the decision-makers, yes, the ministers, they weren't the ones driving into combat when they should have been flying into combat. And the Foreign Office Minister that he appointed, Lord Malloch Brown, said as late as last year, and I quote, "We definitely don't have enough helicopters." Presumably the Prime Minister is going to tell us all these people were just deceived.
Mr. Speaker, we have increased the number of helicopters in Afghanistan. We've increased the flying time by more than 100%. I think he should recognise that the Merlins were adapted so that they are now in Afghanistan. He should also recognise that the Chinooks were also adapted so that they too can be in Afghanistan. He should recognise that we have other helicopters in Afghanistan that are working, and we are part of an international operation in Afghanistan where we share equipment with our coalition partners. And I have to say to him, the amount of money spent in Afghanistan now is £5 billion a year. That is 1,000 extra vehicles. That is twice the number of flying time hours for our helicopters. And I think he should accept that our troops, for the operations that they are asked to undertake, have been given the equipment they need. That is the right position.